You definitely don't want that.
All right.
We are live.
Meeting is now streaming live on YouTube. I love it when I feel like a 9-year-old woman when we accomplish very small technical goals. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, yes.
We did it. We're live. Welcome everyone to VO Booth Besties. We're here to help working voice actors get your most important questions answered by industry pros who know. Each week we have a new topic and a guest speaker who is an expert on that topic. Have you missed a live episode? You can always catch the recording later and our past recordings on our website, boothbesties.com, or anywhere you find your favorite podcasts. And be sure to join us in the VO Booth Besties Facebook group as well. We're really fun. Now, without further ado, let's meet our guest. Over to you, JT.
Thank you very much. Cliff Zellman is an established producer, director, audio engineer, editor, and currently the owner of Amazing Demos, a production company creating custom demos for voiceover professionals. With over 45 years in the industry, he's pretty much recorded, produced, directed, and edited just about anything and everything audio. Cliff says his firm foundation in music has been instrumental, pun intended, in his success on the other side of the glass. While Cliff started in rock and roll LA in the late 70s and 80s, in the 90s he shifted to dialogue recording for animation with Disney and Dick and Saban. Then one day it all kind of came together and crystallized his focus and made him shift into voiceover and audio production for local and regional automotive. He moved to LA from Dallas in 95 to join Radio Vision, a cutting-edge full-service production company. As director of audio production client creative services, Cliff has produced well over 25,000 TV and radio spots for multiple agencies across the country. In addition, Cliff has led dozens of convention workshops, including at VO Atlanta, WOVO, the JMC Euro Retreat, the One Voice Conference, and more. And he's been a guest on numerous industry podcasts, which now includes VO Booth Besties.
Hi.
Hi.
And thank you guys so much for having me. I love your group. When you guys, started it, I jumped in and I think the first time I really got to know you guys was during Hollywood Squares, which was so much fun. Um,
I don't
I
know if that brought out the best me or not.
I think I had like four questions and I think I got three of them right.
There,
Um,
yeah.
I lied for the last one. I think was some like innovative. Oh, seatbelts. First car that had seatbelts. And I'm thinking back, and I remember Mercury always had the most innovative stuff. They had the push button shift knobs, and they had all kinds of cool things. And no, it wasn't. So if anybody's ever on Jeopardy, the answer is Nash. So I
Not
remember
Mercury.
that.
Okay.
Not
Noted.
Mercury. I learned my lesson well.
Well,
Uh,
okay, so really quick, I think we need to give some backstory to some of our viewers and listeners. So we attended the One Voice conference in Dallas last year, and one of our besties, Ian O'Donnell, hosted a live Hollywood Squares evening event, and it was purely for entertainment and fun. Cliff and I were both one of the contestants to try. Yeah, we were one of the squares to try to help unassuming volunteers in the audience come up and answer all kinds of different questions. And it got a little rowdy, but it was really fun. So,
the
okay.
front row got really rowdy.
I
We had
mean,
layers.
I may or may not have been on the front row
I,
wearing my Naked Jen t-shirt. Like,
I think you were in the front row. I think Liz was in the front
Liz
row.
was next to me, and then we had K Bess, sweet,
Hey,
sweet
Beth,
K Bess. We're
that
over
pretty
there
much
being obnoxious, and she's just
that pretty much sums up the whole program right there. Um,
Oh my gosh. Okay, so Cliff, I honestly, until that intro, did not know what a strong music background you have. Fellow singer, piano player here. How what was the goal? Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? What were we doing with that?
I think to be the fifth member of the Monkees.
Okay, okay. Good goal.
Um,
Good goal.
my father, may he rest in peace, was an incredible jazz pianist and
Nice.
started when he was 5 years old. They thought he was going to be a prodigy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, he decided to go the jazz boogie route instead. Um, when I was a baby, he had a grand piano. Well, we had a grand piano. When I was a
Hmm.
baby, he would put me in the bassinet and put me underneath the piano while he would play. I'd be staring up. I guess I was staring up. I don't really remember. He also put me to sleep with a metronome at night. So he would say, okay, this is 105 beats per,
Yep.
go to sleep.
That's funny.
So I,
I'm curious which beats work. This may also be a parenting tip for folks. If there was
105's a little brisk. Um, but he wanted me to get da-da-dum, da-da-dum, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Um, I found a guitar. I spoke a little bit about this last night, with my good friend Dave. I found a guitar in a trash can walking home from school, elementary school. I was in third grade, tried to build it. It was destroyed. My parents bought me a guitar. Um, very young and rounded up kids in the neighborhood. You're the drummer. Here's wooden soup spoons and a couple of,
yeah.
suitcases. And I had my guitar and I tried to rebuild the guitar in the trash can, but it didn't work and my parents felt bad for me. So if any of you guys are from the Valley and anywhere near as old as I am, you may remember Fedco. Does that sound familiar to any? No West Coasters over there.
Maybe they'll raise their hand in the audience, not me.
Say, I know, I remember Fedco. Took me to Fedco, bought me a Teosco Del Rey guitar that's probably worth a fortune now. And that was it. Loved it, joined bands, always wanted to, not really wanted to play live. Uh,
Okay.
I've always wanted to record. I want to put pieces together. I want to work out a cool little riff and then, section that off, keep playing that. Um, Playing live always, I was really scared and I think I threw up before every one of my live. I'm in
That's
the
not
back.
uncommon though.
I'm almost
So,
ready. I'll be
so
there.
let me ask you, Cliff. So one of the things that I pride myself on, I call myself a creative, capital C creative. And it sounds like you are very similar, which is what's landed you with opportunities to do all different kinds of creative endeavors, entrepreneurial endeavors to include voiceover. So what's the synopsis from I found the guitar in the trash can and you found your way into production and being in voiceover and being a coach and being a speaker? Like, how did we get here? How did we get to Cliff Zellman right now?
I think it's through multiple sources of inspiration.
Okay.
I see when I was in high school, I was one of the better guitar players in high school, but Steve Montgomery showed up. Came out of nowhere right in the middle of the semester. This guy with this long hair and this gorgeous white Stratocaster that was a cross between Robin Trower and Jimi Hendrix, and he made me want to be a better guitar player.
I like that.
Working with, oh, by the way, it's Deke and Saban were the production companies that I was doing animation for back in the 90s. Disney, Deke and Saban.
Okay.
Deke was Sonic the Hedgehog.
Deacon
Saban,
Saban, I see it. Okay.
Saban, I think, was Little Mouse on the Prairie and Where in the World in Carmen Sandiego. And Disney was Goof Troop. Um,
Okay.
and I think uh, Howie's World. I'm not sure. Not Howie's World. Um, what was the one with Howie Mandel? Bobby's World. Anyway, we're, being the fader thrower, being the audio engineer, I watched these guys work. They were inspiration. I wanted to do that too. Um, I would go to concerts and I would try to sit behind the guy in the sound booth, and I'd be watching their moves and I'd be so into it. I wouldn't even watch the show, I'd be watching the mixer, and that was inspiration. I want to do that too. I'd watch Ian Anderson play the flute. I went out and bought a flute, so
Yep.
it's things that inspire me that I want to do. And I don't have to be a master of it. I mean, certainly when it comes to demos, yes, I got that covered.
Right.
Direct everything that I charge for, I got that covered. But I just bought an electronic drum set
Yeah.
because I want one, and I'm inspired. And I saw Billy Cobham play on an old video, and I'm watching him, and I'm listening to Toto, and listening to Jeff Porcaro, and just that groove, and it's really hard.
I
One thing.
think that's what makes us unique, and that's even how I got into the voiceover industry, because I came from a theater background, did on camera work, and it was that challenge, like, hey, I want to try this. I think
Yeah.
I can do this. And again, like you said, I love the idea of not striving for perfection, because there is no such thing, that, but it's that, give it a try, hone your skills. Maybe you use it as a hobby, maybe it does become a profession and you get paid to do this. And I think it's that spirit of going for it, which is one of the things I love to do. So with voiceover though, you're known for automotive. Let's be real. That when we
Sure.
say Cliff Zellman, we hear automotive. So kind of tell me, how did your journey lead you here?
Well, when I moved to Dallas, doing some investigation, and I got an offer from a company called Radio Vision. And I
Okay.
thought, wow, that's kind of a, low-hanging fruit kind of a name, can we be a little more creative? But all they did was radio spots and television spots, and it
Okay.
actually started to fit. Um, I walked in on an interview, and I immediately really liked the guy that I was talking to. He said, we were talking, and I wanted more information out of him in the beginning than to me, because when I walk in, it's like when I would audition for bands and stuff, I would have the mindset, and I think this works in VO too.
Hmm.
You walk into something and you think, are they good enough to work with me? Now, of course they are, right?
I know.
But it's that attitude. And I would go into auditions and I say, are these players good enough players to play with me? Of course they were. And it was the same thing with Radio Vision. I wanted to know as much as I could about this company before I made any commitments. And I saw that they were a mess,
Mm.
creatively on fire, but
Okay.
organized, technically, workflow. Um, Everybody was doing everybody else's job. There was like 8 people. About 2 years, 3 years into my employment, we had almost 40 people. Um, their engineer was a guitar player in a band. I came from 20 years of LA,
Yeah.
you know, everyday big time studio stuff. They had tons of money and they called me LA, and I said, you
No.
don't.
No.
What was that? What you think, LA? Listen, I have keys. I can leave anytime. Please don't call. I'm here. I'm committed. I'm not LA.
Yep.
That was that.
Yep.
But one of the owners, uh, we were talking many, many years ago, sitting around my uh, dinner table, my family, and we're saying, other than family, name 5 people, your 5 favorite people. And you can't include daddy or mommy or, Allie or any of that. And one of my 5 favorite people was one of the owners of Radio Vision.
Okay.
And everybody kind of looked at me and said, wow, that's, your boss is one of your favorite people. So yeah, I was very fortunate. I loved the company. I loved everybody there. We fought like cats and dogs, of course. Um, but it was all for the good of the client. Um, if scripts needed to be improved, if my mixes needed to be improved, nobody ever really took anything personally, because our goal was, get people into the dealership. It wasn't really our responsibility how many cars they sold on the weekend, but it was definitely our responsibility how many people walked through the door.
Yep.
So if they got
Yep.
500 people walking through the door on a Saturday and they sell 8 cars, we need to have a meeting. It
Yeah.
ain't
So were you doing both engineering and voiceover for these?
over when I absolutely had to. Character,
Okay.
um, like what? You know, right? They give a price, and I'd be like, seriously? Or I would be the California surfer guy because I grew up in, the valley in the 70s, and Fast Times at Ridgemont High was filmed at
Right.
Van Nuys High School, my school that
Yep.
I went to, or barely went to, or told people I went to.
Sometimes went to, yeah.
had band practice at 1:30 in the afternoon on a Tuesday. You know,
Priorities, priorities.
my parents wanted me to be an accountant. And from the time I told you, from the time I was 5, 10 years old, I knew I had to have an instrument or something like that in my hands.
Yeah.
And I left high school and I went to LA Valley College, which is a beautiful school. During lunchtime, Quiet Riot would play, Striper, the hair bands of the late 70s, would play in the quad at Valley College. Great place. But I was taking these accounting classes and bookkeeping classes, and every day I got further and further behind.
Mm-hmm.
I knew less on Wednesday than I did on Monday. And I said, I'm wasting my time.
Yep. Heart's not in it.
I gathered my books, picked up my pencils, walked out, went over to the job board on at Valley College, and I saw a job at a recording studio.
Hmm.
Now, this was absolute bottom of the barrel, but it was LA. It was very early 80s, very late 70s. So there was a lot of money,
Mm-hmm.
budgets. I think I was getting paid $25 an hour to answer phones.
Nice.
And then I was not allowed to do anything, and I got a promotion to vacuum.
Look,
And I got a
really?
yes, ma'am. And then I got a promotion to clean the toilets. And then I got a promotion to stock the refrigerator. And then I got a promotion to do tape inventory to see how much 2-inch, quarter-inch cassettes we need to buy. And since I'm right there physically right now, mentally in the library doing inventory, one of the greatest moments of my life was this long hall library that was a wall on one side and, bookshelves on the other. You'd walk
Mhm.
down. The other side of the wall is the studio, the room where the recording was, not the control room where they mix, but the
Right.
actual studio. Steve Lukather's guitar amp was right against the wall recording the guitar solo to Hold the Line.
Okay.
Now, if you guys
Dude.
know that song, and do you know that
Yeah.
solo, Hold the Line, down, down, down. Lukather breaks into probably the greatest guitar solo of either side of 10 years. And I'm sitting there with my ear against the wall. I am, again,
Awesome.
the lowest of the lowest. All right. I'm not even allowed to walk by the studio door at this
Yeah.
point. And I'm listening, and my knees are getting weak. And at that point in my life, I said, I'm at the right place. This is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then when Radio Vision came along, remember, I was already 20 years into audio, 20 years into engineering.
Okay.
And I was the house engineer, the chief engineer of a studio, which means when a band comes in and they have their own engineer, I'm off. I still get paid, but I'm off.
Okay.
When they come, any act or anything that wants to record that doesn't have their own engineer, I'm the guy. So I was blessed to work with the best of the best and the worst of the worst. It's not like nowadays, where, demo producers, we really have to vet who we're working with. We have to make sure they're ready. We have to make sure they're trained, that they've got a game plan, that, when you give them the demo, it's not like, now what do I do? I make sure that they know everybody and they're involved in the community. Not then, boy. You got $200, bam, you got an hour to the studio. It doesn't, you belch for an hour. We don't care. We hit record.
Awesome.
Oh, um, being in that position, I did get to work with a lot of brand new bands. So I started going to all the clubs. Remember, early 80s in LA, clubs were
Right.
never better. So I would go to all these clubs, the owners of the clubs, the gatekeepers of the clubs, they all knew me. I could walk right in. I got they took the rope away. Me and Joanne, my wife of 40 years, got
Congratulations.
right in. Thank you so much. Got right in, got a seat because I was there to listen to the band to see if I wanted to bring them into the studio, no charge, to cut a spec 2 or 3 songs, spend a day or two. Um, since I'm bringing them in, I kind of get to produce them. I kind of get to tell them what I want to hear because they're not paying for it. But of course, they're signing, I cut my finger last night cutting tomatoes, by the way. Yeah, I didn't have any Band-Aids, but this one's really good. I took some toilet paper and some tape around it. It's actually really comfortable. Hey, whatever.
Resourceful. That's called being resourceful. We like it.
Pieces and putting them together. So one of the reasons I love doing demos, it's almost the same thing. It's with what I do with voice talent, what I did with bands, and strategically putting things together. Um, very, again, word strategic, that when the listener, either the agent, casting director, client, whatever, listens to it, they get a certain feeling or it puts them in a certain place. And that is very calculated. It's not just here's a spot, here's a spot, here's a spot. Every spot's there for a reason. It brings out something in the listener that I work very hard to achieve. It's not an accident. And that comes from music. Example, I had a great band that no doubt was going to get signed. And we're working on one of the songs, and where there's a guitar solo about maybe 10 or 15 seconds of right after the second chorus, boom, ready for the guitar solo to come in. I said, no guitar solo.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Let's just keep leave it open. We go to a producer for Arista or A&M Records, and he's listening to the demo. He hears the first song he likes it. He comes to this song. There's the break. There's no guitar solo. He does this. You really need a guitar solo in there. And I say, that's why we're here. See, this is the guy we need to talk to.
Nice. That is strategic, my friend. That is strategic.
You're behind the scenes. Things are not what they appear to be out in the open,
Yep.
Think everything through,
Well, so let's keep going with that. So you're using all these influences. You have your time at Radio Vision. So what, and using your music background, your audio skills, your engineering skills. So what have you seen transform in automotive VO production? Like, to me, the first thing that comes to mind is it's an experience. These commercials that, it's storytelling. It's a documentary. It's not what you were saying, buy now, come down Saturday, it's not sell, sell, sell. So what are you seeing evolving in the automotive VO genre?
Well, let's break it down real quick. And I've got, if anybody's interested in automotive, I got sessions and breakouts coming up next week that are going to be fabulous and so much fun. We'll talk about that in closing.
Okay.
But with automotive, we have three tiers of automotive. There's national, there's regional, and there's local. They're very, very different. National is close to regional because most regionals are national spots with a local tag where they will say test drive today at, and then they'll give the region local, test drive at your North Texas Toyota Truck Dealers Association and then there's local, and local is a specific dealership. Now, they could have one owner could have 4 or 5 dealerships, but each one of those is considered local. National, like you said earlier, is a documentary. It talks how your life can improve. It's vehicle centric. It's all about the car and how the car interacts with you and your life. If you're young, you got the beach. If you're a young adult, you've got kids, you've got the back open up and the dog jumps in and you're throwing in the donuts for the PTA meeting. If you're a little bit older and you're money, you pull up in front of the opera house and the leg comes out when the door opens. If you're older like me, you've got the F-150 truck because we work real hard from day to night. We need a truck that works as hard as you do. So when it comes to national spots, don't even include the word automotive because there's really no difference other than 4 tires and a steering wheel. It's still imagey, it's still compelling, it's still connecting the product with the buyer. There's a lot of psychology involved. So when we do national, they're beautiful and A lot of national spots are celebrities. They'll do like the flagship spot of the year. You'll have Matthew McConaughey sitting behind his Lincoln talking about every road is an invitation. And then you will have the ads where all month long it's Toyotathon. Those are the ads that you guys would be doing. If you're going to get into national, you'll be doing events, national events. You're not really going to hear Matthew McConaughey say all month long it's Toyotathon. He ain't going to do that. But you guys can. Where does the national spots come from? Agents, maybe pay to play. Put you up against what? 20,000 other people that would love to do a national Volkswagen spot. Manager, word of mouth, a director you worked with 3 months ago, somebody like me. So it's going to come from someone and it's going to be very difficult. Same thing with regional. They will come from anywhere. We can get into where they come from later. And then there's local. Local is almost the opposite of a national spot because we are talking about the dealership. We're dealership centric. We're not talking about the car that much. We're talking about our community. We're here for you, what we do for you. So that's really the big difference. Come on down, meet us this weekend, have a piece of pizza, spin the wheel, and ride the camel. Meet Jen. Hi, I'm Jen. This
On a
weekend,
camel. Yeah.
yeah, on a camel. Y'all can see it too. Everybody can see it.
New
Um,
shirt.
and we talk about community. We talk about how we collect money for victims of the fire or the earthquake, or we talk about sponsorships for Little League teams. And you become the voice of the dealership. And these spots come from production companies that do this type of work, local automotive, local furniture stores, cash pawn, and lawyers. The tough, smart lawyer. Everybody hates me. My dog hates me. You'll love me. Stuff like that. Um, Local was very enthusiastic, you know, 20 years ago. A lot of screaming and yelling, a lot of moving metal. There was a line, what was it, years ago? Cut through the clutter like hot knife through butter. You want to really pop out of that because at any given time, 1%, 1/10 of the percent of the population listening are even thinking about buying a car. So
Yep.
when you're talking about it, you got to be out there. You got to hear them, and you're driving in your car, windows rolled down, kids are screaming, got to pop out a little bit.
Yep.
But COVID, one of the good things that COVID brought, actually, I think COVID brought a lot of really good things. No traffic was great. Remember that? Staying home, being with the family. I didn't like, spraying stuff and leaving it on the front step for an hour before you brought it in, which was ridiculous.
Yes.
But we didn't know. I mean, this thing is killing everybody around us. We didn't know. Better
Yep.
safe. So COVID brought down the, you know, frenetic read a lot because that frenetic read was really focused around call to action and creation of urgency.
Mm-hmm.
Two things, automotive advertising 101. I've been doing advertising for 20 years. We've got all these little groups and stuff. Creation of urgency is get here now while the selection's still good. Time is running out. There's never been a better time to buy a car. Call to action is pick up the phone, get online, visit our website, come in
Yep.
this weekend, anything to get you from point A to point B. So that really was the meat of local automotive for a long time. Urgent. We didn't really talk about rarely, and I'm talking 10 years ago, so I'm not even going to mention, rear window cameras and 360-degree this and that. Back in the day, we would say with automatic power steering, power locks, and you'd have this, what we call a laundry list of all these items. That was not really as important as get your butt down here right now and the price. So we
Mm-hmm.
have terms and we have incentives. Incentives are not the same as terms. You'd say $500 off a car would be an incentive to buy the car, but it's really not. That falls under terms. An incentive in automotive, especially local, is how does it make you feel about yourself? You want to be attractive to whoever you want to be attracted to. You want to make your life easier. You want to have 18 drink holders. You want to be a Superman. You want people to go, whoa, when you drive by. That's an incentive to
Yeah.
buy. Terms, how much and how long. So we talk about, 0% financing for 48 months. How much? How long? $5,000 off the price of the car. Right now, you can get an F-150 for only 38,722. That's 5,000 off. Those are all terms. So today's local, and it's still kind of hanging on from COVID because I think a lot of people like it, is it's a little calmer. Of course, you're going to find the high energy every now and then,
Right.
but those are coming from dealerships, and I hope they're watching me right now. You guys are superstitious. Well, it worked in the past. It's going to work tomorrow. It might not. Bell bottoms worked great in the 70s. They didn't work so great in the 90s.
Well, I think something that you are really hitting on, and then I'm going to turn it over to AB, but one of the things that you're really hitting on, and this that I would argue is across all genres right now, but people want it is you talked about the terms and conditions and then the incentives. It's the emotional, there's an emotional component to the incentive. How does it make me feel? What does, and when you hear, we are in a place now where you've said it, post-pandemic, family matters. Community matters. I want to live like I want my grandmother to live. There's such a greater emotional component, and I think across the board, that's why producers, clients, advertisers, they're really reaching for authenticness and trying to really bring the heart into it, whatever that emotion is. But I think that's what's really working right now, is that emotional connection. Would you agree with that?
I do agree. I also think we're on the cusp of it. Right around 2017, a little bit before, we started really talking about the conversational read. Now, I don't know if that's anything that you really need to study. Basically, what it is forget trying to be a spokesperson and just talk, just be a normal person, and it doesn't matter what you're reading. Then came the millennial read. And the millennial read kind of took it down like this. And it was very internal. It was about you, not the audience. It was about the person that was talking. And it was, to me, it was very selfish. Um, it's all about me, and it's what happens to me. And an example would be, like, I'm just making this up, but like a Nike spot, would be, I hear the voice in my head telling me, run faster, jump higher, Nike. And, it's me, 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 me. Now I'm starting to hear, and what I'm hearing from casting directors and what they're looking for, and my clients are looking for, they're looking for personality. So getting away from this conversational read. Now, this is very interesting. We've got personality. Forget conversational. Forget millennial. Forget all that stuff. But we've got a personality read, and the other side is the detached read. I love the detached read. I think it's just enough to say what you want to say. You're not trying to sell me anything. I'm smart. I've been around the block a couple of times. I know when you're BSing me. I know when you're selling me. Talk to me. Tell me what it is without sounding like, everybody's out to hate me and I'm all alone. I'm done with that. You know, now we want personality. Why is it fun? Why do I want to do this? Why do I want to buy this particular carrot scraper? All right, make it fun. Um, some of that comes from the influence that so-called influencers bring to the advertising market.
Yeah.
They do a very conversational, and it's supposed to be, and some of them are really, really good. And it's funny because a lot of the times the viewers don't know what's good and what's bad. Because what's good you don't notice. You give me a voiceover, that's real easy for me to tell you what, or not me, but somebody else to tell you what's not good about it.
Right.
Sometimes it's hard to tell you what's really good about it because the better it is, the less you notice it. And the better it is, the less you judge it. And the better it is, the more you go with the flow of the program. So this detached read really came to light. A lot of people jumped all over it during the Super Bowl. There
Oh,
was
yeah.
that commercial for Poppy, I think
Poppy.
Yes.
was like, and if it was, I'm try, if there wasn't 1,000 of us voice actors watching that particular commercial, nobody would know anything. Nobody would say anything about it. But
No,
all of us kind of went,
we like
yes,
that.
we like this. And what was
Yes.
it? It was conversational, but it just was so natural and
Yeah.
just really not talking about anything and just kind of telling me what's going on without making the words on the paper bigger, without having the actor's performance step on the story. Really let the product speak for itself. And when I do national spots, and I'm directing, anything that has a face. You've got a car, you've got a Cadillac that's got the headlights of the mouth. What does a Kia Sorento sound like? What does any cheap car like maybe like a Kia or a Hyundai? Well, what's the real cheap Hyundai? I should know. Like the Kia Rio. Back in the day, I think you could buy it for like $8,000 to $10,000. Um, but that car has a personality. Infinity has a personality. Audi has a personality. And the voice can kind of, what would the car sound like if it could talk? And I'm sure that an Audi would not be, hey, everybody, come on, blah, 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 blah. It would have a very, you know, if you know Audi, you know how awesome it is. You don't have to be sold on it. And I think that I would rather tell somebody how cool something it is without them knowing I'm trying to tell them how cool something is. And to me, that's where that detached read comes in. So my two favorite reads right now are the energetic or enthusiastic read that has positivity through it. And positivity doesn't have to be yelling. It's the difference of, for only $8.99 a month versus for only $8.99 a month. One goes up, the other goes down. If you go down, that's a huge amount of money. If it goes up, hey, you can afford that. So
Well,
that's what I'm hearing. I'm hearing personality come back, and I love it.
we like personality around here.
You know,
Absolutely.
another thing is everybody has a different personality. So it's easy when you are yourself, that becomes your brand. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Alicia.
No, you're good. A big airplane just went overhead and I'm like, crap, that's gonna cut him off. It's loud. Sorry for the noise in the background, you guys. Well, we have several questions in the comments, but before we get there, we should have a little detached commercial for Studio Bricks because I really
Uh,
love my Studio Bricks.
Studio bricks look like the outside of a sushi bar.
Yes,
You go into a really nice sushi bar. That's what studio bricks looks like.
and you can get them customized with colors. I've seen one that looks like a Doctor Who, right? Like the booth, the phone booth from Doctor Who. Mine's just like the sushi bar. It's just a little white box.
Gorgeous.
But I love it. And right now we've been interviewing demo producers and talking about one of the most important things is making sure that you have a home studio ready to go and that they have to evaluate home studios. And one of the people I was talking to said, if I see that somebody's in a Studio Bricks, I know I'm okay. Like I know their quality, their sound quality is going to be good and ready to go. So that's one of the reasons we recommend checking out Studio Bricks if you're ready to level up and invest in a space where you can record pretty much no matter what. Giant airplanes flying overhead you may hear, but otherwise it's pretty darn solid. So that's our little pitch for Studio Bricks. And
Did not hear that airplane.
oh good, I heard it, but I was hoping you guys didn't hear it. Great. So it did not come through. Perfect.
Creating a working environment is really, really difficult.
Yeah.
And that's but it's probably the biggest hurdle new voice talent have. There are so many great coaches out there and so many great resources out there that building your skills is not as difficult or as time consuming as it used to be. But getting your sound right and learning audio, it's like, oh my God, what does upward expansion mean? Or, people look at their DAWs and go, well, that doesn't apply to me. Man, you know what, that I don't need to learn that. That doesn't apply to me. That's not true. But when me as a director, and you said it in when you were talking about it, when I dial you up and you come in and I see you're sitting in a Studio Bricks room, I know I'm halfway there. That is very important. Your presence to your director, how you look, of course, being on time and all that stuff. But when I see a Studio Bricks, they've already done their homework, you
Yeah.
know. So let me add that. And thank you, Studio
Thank
Bricks.
you. Thank you. Thank you. Well, I'm going to ask you some questions from the chat. We have quite an active chat today. And one of the questions is when you're considering local car dealerships, so that's the tier
Three.
three, right? Would you be reaching out to local production companies? And who's deciding on the voice talent for those spots? Is it the
Excellent
dealership?
question. You are reaching out to local production companies. They could look like giant companies and be one guy, or they could be Radio Vision and have 60 active clients. Don't bother the dealerships unless you know the guy, unless you went to his daughter's wedding, all right, or you're his son-in-law. They're so busy every day just running that dealership with 50 people and millions of dollars of inventory. They don't know. They hire production companies. They're looking for a production company. The term is like turnkey, where they'll write the scripts, they'll shoot it, they'll get your compliance, they'll make sure you're legal, they'll book your airtime. The production companies are the people that you want to reach out to.
Okay.
They can be found. We can get into that later if you want to have a private conversation with me. But I'm a big fan of LinkedIn.
Okay.
Um, I go to the magnifying glass and I type in every single incarnation of automotive advertising, automotive sales, automotive production, music, automotive radio spots, everything that I can think of, automotive, and you'll get conversations. It's just like voiceover. You type in VO and you've got your choice of what, 50 or 60 VO groups. Some are great, some are getting started, some will disappear. But with LinkedIn, and the main reason to be on LinkedIn is to give your employment information. Facebook's great if you want to see pictures of my dog. There she is. No, she's out cold. We did a good frisbee, early morning frisbee run this morning. Have to border collies. You got to keep them
So if
going.
you're ready to do your automotive marketing, do you need to have a demo ready to go, an automotive demo?
Let me get to that next.
Okay.
When you reach out to the production companies, you want to reach out to account managers because they are the go-between between the production company and the dealership. Steve will call the the GM and say, "Hey, what do you want to do this month?" And they'll talk about it, and then the account manager will give that information to either the creative or they'll write the script themselves, depending upon the size of the company. And then it gets distributed down through video and all that stuff. But first person you want to try to get in touch with would be account manager. Second person you'd want to get in touch with would be creative director. Third person would be audio director. And there are clever ways to do that. Not tricks. I don't like tricks, but there are ways to get through, and we can get into that later on. Come to an X session. I'll tell you all about it. Um, what was your second question that I said I would get back to?
Do you need to have an automotive demo ready to go to market, or can you use a commercial demo?
If you are doing national, you do not need an automotive demo. I try to talk people out of doing a national automotive demo that come to me. Unless their manager or their agent says, oh, you've got to have a national automotive demo. I don't know if those words have ever been spoken. Because, like I said earlier when we were talking, there's no difference really between a national automotive spot and a beautiful healthcare spot. It's the same level of killer production, killer voiceover, killer editing. It's all wonderful. If you want to get into tier 3, which is what I recommend people do because it's the holy grail of voiceover, yes, you must have a tier 3 automotive demo because the owner of the dealership is numbers focused and doesn't have a creative bone in their body, which is why they hire the production companies, and they need to hear you in a car spot. They need to hear Mustang 28,495, Fusion 33,695, that you've got, you know how to read local automotive. Um, one of the big mistakes people make is that they read a car spot, local automotive spot, the way they think car spot's supposed to sound. Well, how's that supposed to sound? Well, it's dependent on the script. A luxury Infinity dealership's going to sound a whole lot different than, the $5,000 Corral where no car is over 5 grand. Come on down. Um, but yes, it is important. There's 4 or 5 or 6 different reads. There's the local luxury read, the country read, the everyday guy next door, soccer mom read. There's the daughter of the owner read. There's the live on the lot read. Hey, everybody, come on down this weekend. We've got some, I throw in some ambient sounds, cars driving by, kids crying, a band around the corner with the reverb to make it sound like it's alive on the lot, or simulive or almost live is what we call those kind of productions. So when the end client, including the production company, hears you in an automotive spot, a local automotive spot, they can judge if you're right for them. So yes, it is important.
And it's important to have coaching before you go to make an automotive demo.
And I'll tell you, I believe in, natural talent, but when it comes to automotive, familiarity is king. You have to sound like the spot before. You have to sound like stuff you've heard. You don't want to be too out there because these dealerships are all very, superstitious. They don't want to go out on too much of a limb. Excuse me, I get the hiccups. I get it. I get excited.
It gives me a chance to break in here and ask, so let's switch gears a little bit. So since automotive seems to be significantly male leaning to our female audience, we want to know, how are women fitting into the picture? I know Jenna Birmingham is a big advocate.
Hugely, because times have changed. Women, and they always should have been. It's stupid, man. Sorry, guys. Women are empowered. Women are buying cars as they should be. We won't necessarily admit it, and you can edit this out if you want, but I personally think women are superior to men in just about every aspect, except one.
We will not edit that.
No,
just say it louder
that's
into the
staying.
microphone right here.
Only
Just say it
one
one more
thing
time.
that we're better at than you, and that we can beat you up. So put on a set of boxing gloves. I'll put on a set of boxing. Well, yeah, there's always,
The
the
outlier.
yeah, but in general, men are stronger. But women, you used to hear the nightmare, why don't you bring your husband around, little lady, and we cut a deal. Those days are gone. Women are where they should be, where they always should have been, um, buying cars, buying homes, starting businesses. Terrific. So they are a viable target to sell to. They having a woman talk to a woman. There are cars specifically designed for women. You might not know what they are, but I sure do. And I'll write my scripts accordingly. Um, Local automotive, absolutely. And that again depends upon the dealership. National automotive, I would say 50-50. Go ahead, prove me wrong. Watch TV from 6 o'clock at night to 10 o'clock at night, and you got a 50-50 shot of whether you're going to get a male or a female. So yes, yes, yes. Now more than ever, it's always going to skew, I think, a little bit towards male, but it's not 95% to 5%. Now I would say it's 45% to 55%. And I love it. And I went to a FAFCon. Y'all remember FAFCon? FAFCon 2, I stood up in front of 100 people. They didn't know me. I didn't know them. And I said, I am Cliff, and I'm here with a production company. I immediately got 100 new best friends, right? Because I'm the only buyer in a room in 100 voice actors, and I said, I am here to bring women into automotive. It is time. I'm tired of the screaming. Women, you need to be here. You need to be represented. So to answer that question, yes, and now's a good time.
Okay. So once you've made these connections with the production companies and they kind of assign you to specific dealerships, are you going to have that repeat?
Yes, yes. What you will do is one agency could have Radio Vision, and its heyday had 35, 40 active clients at once all across the country. Half a dozen, 7, 8 account managers handling the dealerships, full production company. What happens is you get into a agency and you do one spot for a dealership. How you'll get that, we can talk about later. But when you do get that job, another account executive is going to hear that spot that you did for a client in Washington. Wow, I like that guy. Can I use him for a client I have in Tennessee? Sure. Ooh, I like that guy. Can I use him for a client I have in Texas? Absolutely, as long as airspace doesn't cross. And that's
Okay.
beautiful about local is that all you have to worry about is you don't want to be about 100 miles near your other clients. If you are the voice of Chevy, you ain't doing anybody else, period. You're not doing Dallas Dodge. You're not doing LA Cadillac. You are doing National Chevy. Now, by the time you're doing National Chevy, that should be your biggest problem, right? Oh,
Right.
sorry, can't do Ford. I've already got Chevy. From my mouth to God's ear. That ain't gonna happen. But
And
go
are you
ahead.
looking at directed sessions for these, or maybe just for the first one till you get the feel for the dealership?
Exactly, Jen. The first two or three, I'll hear their audition and I'll know how much they need. If somebody is absolutely clueless, they'll get a call back and I'll say, hey man, you're great, stick to audiobooks. I don't think automotive is necessarily for you. Um, but I can hear people that have done automotive. If I bring in somebody brand new, I will definitely direct the first 3 or 4 spots. And after that, you are on your own. That script comes at 8, 9 o'clock in the morning. I got to have it back by 11 because I'm cutting it. I'm done by 11:30. It goes to video. Video does their thing. They send it back to me. I put the sound effects that video put on visually, send it back to video. They do a layback of audio and video. It's on the air at 5 o'clock. Awesome. I mean, how cool is that? A spot
Yeah.
that start at 8 in the morning is already being aired at 5 o'clock at night or first thing in the morning for, AM, Good Morning Dallas or Good Morning Phoenix. That's where all the local spots are played on the morning shows when people
Yeah.
get on board.
But that brings up another big consideration. If VO is not your full-time job and you're just working on this at night after you get home from your 9 to 5, automotive is not going to work for you.
It's not. It's not unless you make an agreement with your client, and you say, hey, what are you going to argue with? I'm a firefighter. Okay, you're not going to argue with that. You go fight fire. But yeah, you gotta turn this stuff around. That's part of the commitment. One of the good things is, and I'm not going to say this too loud, your audio has to be pretty good. It doesn't have to be spectacular. It doesn't have to be anything like an audiobook. I mean, good Lord, how people do audiobooks. You guys are the heroes of voiceover. To me, the most amount of responsibility, most amount of work, least amount of pay. But it's a legacy. It's a different people do audiobooks for different reasons, I think. Um, but yeah, you've got to be ready. And nowadays, thank God, you grab your MacBook, you grab your 416, you grab your little tiny, interface, you go to the Bahamas, you get the call. I have a voice talent that is a certified Disney princess. She can walk into any Disney park, show her card, put on her uniform, and go to work. So she does Disney cruises. Well, half the time I call her, she's on a boat. She's got a special place on that boat where she can go and do her recordings for me.
Cool.
And yeah, so travel rig. Have a travel rig. Any other cues? More questions? Or
Uh, Actually, I'm looking at the clock and I can't believe that we have
We
covered an hour
I know it's
already.
crazy, isn't it?
I mean, like, wow. And I know people still have a lot of questions for you, but they can find you next week.
At VO Atlanta, I am doing a national X session, 3 hours, great fun. Everything is going to be recorded. You will have all of your audio. First time you get up, you read it. I take notes. Second time you get up, I'll direct you. Third time you get up, you do it from what you remember. Plenty of mics. I'm going to bring my 416. If you've never heard yourself on a 416, it might be fun. Um, that's X session is on national. Better hurry up because there's a few more seats in national. There's not a whole lot on my second X session, which is local. That I think only has 1 or 2 spots open. Um,
I
I
did that last year and it was so much fun.
crazy. I mean, to talk about how fast 3 hours goes by.
Yeah.
Um, I'm also doing a breakout on introduction to automotive, which is nice because it's coming right in the middle of an X session. My 2 X sessions, normally I do X session, and then introduction. It should be the other way around because some people get really excited and say, "Oh, when's your X session?" Oh, it was yesterday. So I'm doing a panel with Bev on the good, the bad, and the WTF of home directed sessions, which is hysterical. I'll let her talk about that. I'm doing a tech panel with guys that probably have forgotten more about tech than I'll ever know. Not true. But I think they invite me because I'm like the old guy, and I bring the old analog stuff with me. I'm doing the No BS demo production panel with people that I, you know, absolutely admire and in love with, and get 5 of our best friends all up there on the stage together. That's going to be fun. Then a thing here and there. I hear that Team Challenge is filled out, which
Cool.
this is the third year I am not doing Team Challenge. I was the first Team Challenge leader on the first Team Challenge. I wanted to kill myself. Then, thank God, Uncle Roy came in to help me for 2 years. Then, after that, Dan Friedman came in. And by the time Dan came in, I'm like, Dan, you're so good at this.
He
Just do it.
loves it.
Oh, he loves it. I loved it too, but it's as a manager, it's really time consuming because we're putting out
Yeah.
fires for 3 days. In fact, we didn't even mention it this year, but the team challenge and the motto is it's not team challenge until somebody cries. Just, you think, well, I'm spending all this money and I'm going to go down to Atlanta. I'm going to end up crying. Yeah, that's no fun. But the point is, you get so into it, and it's so much and it's so demanding. And Dan is perfect for it. So I'm thrilled. It just knocked me out.
Well, we
Um,
can't wait to see you. So,
yeah,
as part of our wrap up, we like to ask our guests 3 for fun questions, kind of James Lipton style. So, the first one is, what show or series are you binge watching right now? Are you a
Family
TV
Feud.
guy? Family Feud. Okay.
I need
What?
brainless.
Yeah, I know, right? I know. What is your dream vacation?
Anywhere with my wife, my backyard,
Oh,
or Hawaii, or it doesn't matter. As long as my wife is within 3 to 4 feet of me, I'm
I
fine.
love it. I love it. What song do you absolutely have to sing along with when you hear
Oh gosh. Okay, I know you want quick answers, but let me give you one.
it? Top 3.
Um, Red Rain, for Peter Gabriel.
Okay, Peter Gabriel. Okay.
Um, Song that I absolutely have to sing. Sweet Home Alabama. As awful as that sounds.
But it's one you know it.
Um, oh gosh, maybe Baker Street Muse by Jethro Tull.
Okay.
But as far as like commercial stuff, I guess, I mean, as much as nobody ever needs to hear Sweet Home Alabama again, ever. We love it, but we don't need to hear it. We know
Yep.
it. But when
Yep.
that comes on, I'm
Yep. All right, AB, take us home.
And home we go. A huge thank you to everybody joining us live today. If you're listening to our podcast, feel free to join us live on YouTube every Thursday at 10 a.m. Pacific or 1 p.m. Eastern. And be sure to connect with each of us on LinkedIn and join the VO Booth Besties Facebook group. And if you miss a live episode, you can always catch the recording later on our website, voboothbesties.com, or anywhere you find your favorite podcasts. And we would really love it if you'd hop on any of those platforms and leave us a review. That helps us reach more listeners who are looking for great voiceover content. So like and subscribe. And JT?
Yes, once again, if you have not signed up for the VO Booth Besties newsletter, please do that so you know what's coming up in the week ahead. Next week, Cliff and AB and NJ will be in Atlanta. However, I will not. So we're going to have some Facebook Live fun inside the No VO FOMO Facebook group. I will pin the link to the top of the VOBB Facebook group, and you can join us there if you're not in Atlanta, and we'll have our own special brand of fun. Thank you all for being here, and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, guys. Thanks so much for having me.